What is an apology? What is an apology? This is something that I've asked myself. I did not ask myself that. I just realized it as the more I would have discussions with friends, I would have arguments, friends and family members. I would have, people. I would have different kind of situations at work. It took me a long time to finally figure that out. It took me, you know, losing friends, um, questioning my reality. It took me a lot to finally get to that point. And I cracked the code. I cracked the code. Now I know what a real apology is or feels like. And I want to give you some tips on, not tips, I just want to say what, in my opinion, is a real apology and what is not a real apology. So I think there are three main components to a real apology. By the way, subscribe. Subscribe. Okay? There are good stuff. I'm talking about good stuff on this channel. Good perspectives, good values and principles. I make commentaries on many different subjects that are very important and, interesting stuff. So subscribe. All right, so let's get to the subject, to these three main points. The first thing that I want to say, is an apology is not only I'm sorry. And this is where we get fooled because we think that saying I'm sorry is enough, or is what an apology is. But the thing is, it's actually, to say I'm sorry is a let's say, like, originally, I say originally because that's what the phrase is supposed to mean, but people use it so lightly that it's lost its value. So originally, I am sorry is recognizing that you've caused harm, that you've caused a negative impact on someone through your actions, your words, your lack of action. Like, it is the recognition, right? You acknowledge that there is pain that was caused, or that you were in the wrong. But that phrase is so easy to say sometimes that people use it very lightly, and they just throw it at you because they know that's what you expect, which is, I mean, rightfully so. Sometimes you expect an apology. Like, I mean, they do something to you, you expect them to at least come clean, and say, yeah, you know what, I'm sorry. But it goes beyond that. A real apology goes beyond I am sorry. Especially, like, sometimes people can throw the phrase and not feel any kind of remorse, any kind of regret, because it's just a phrase. So for you not to get fooled by I am sorry, always pay attention to what follows I am sorry. Okay? And this is where I want to, this is the main aspect I want to talk about, and it's the change of mind. A real apology, essentially, a real apology is a change of mind. Okay? It is to say, okay, the way I thought while I made that action, while I did that action, while I did that thing, I'm no longer thinking that way. That's what. Essentially, this is what an apology is. It is a change of mind. First, okay? I'm gonna get to the other points, so bear with me. It is a change of mind. So pay attention to the logic that someone uses when they're apologizing. Okay? And you would often see sometimes contradictory words as they explain themselves, or yes, sometimes they would use a logic that still justifies their action. So they're saying sorry, but what follows, or the discussion that they have with you, like later on or on that subject, still reflects the same mindset of the person who did that action, of the version of them who did that action. So technically, they're still the same person they were. They haven't changed that mindset, and they're very likely to repeat that behavior. You know what I mean? So when someone says sorry, pay attention to, for example, let me try to think of something. Let's say that someone does something to you. Let's say someone cheated. Okay? Or you cut them talking to someone. They didn't get to actually follow through on the action, but they were kind of like moving in that direction. And then you found out, and etc. You had an argument, etc., etc. And they say sorry, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. Like, I'm not gonna talk to that woman, etc., etc. Okay. And then while you talk to them about it, they're like, cheating. I don't think cheating is that bad, or I don't think cheating. Cheating is, it happens in every situation. I mean, in every relationship. Like, I think people can recover from cheating. They're still, even if they had said sorry and you guys reconciled before, if they go about it in a very light manner, like they remove the weight from the action, they remove the weight of the impact, this is someone who still believes that cheating is fine. So the apology they made was not real, because they do not regret it. They do not see cheating as a problem. So even if they said, you know what I mean, like, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry I did that, I'm not gonna text her, you know what, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna block her. Okay, I'm gonna block all women. This is still not an apology, because their mindset hasn't changed. Yeah. And that's difficult to perceive, because you need to actually have a discussion with the person about that matter. You need to see, for example, I had a conversation with someone once, where I told them, hey, I feel bad when you do this. I don't like the way I feel when you do this, because it causes me to stress, it causes me to be insecure, in a sense, not insecure, but like anxious. Yeah, it sounds insecure. Anxious, because I don't know where I stand with you when you do that. So if if it actually means something to you, stop doing that. We didn't get to that point, but I said this causes a lot of stress, and I would rather you not do that. And they said, okay, whatever. I'm gonna I'm not gonna do that no more. And they went on to do it again, right? And I'm like, okay, let me observe. And they did that again. And they did it. I'm like, all right. So I brought it up. And that person said, you know what, I'm sorry, it's true, etc., etc. But the element that gave it away is the fact that the person told me, um, you cannot know whether I care for you or not by me doing this or that. You cannot, and then they said, um, that person said, I'm trying to think of something. Um, what did they say? It was just right there. I forgot. Okay, so they said I'm sorry, etc., etc. Ah, they said, okay. So I'm just realizing that something that can be insignificant to me may be very important to you or may trigger you. To me, that's like giving, it's revealing that they don't care much about, they don't see the big deal. They don't see the big deal. If someone, like, sometimes there are certain things that you may do that are not necessarily like bad per se. Um, and that's a thing that I think sometimes we confuse. Sometimes people think, impact is intention, but it's not the same at all. So when someone says, this bothers me, this hurts me, it's not about you being a bad person or you wanting something bad for them, but it's still an impact. Your action can have impact regardless of what your intentions were. So it's very important to understand that. But anyways, the point is, he said it's insignificant to him. So even if he's saying sorry, I know that this is likely to be repeated again, because what actually what actually keeps someone from doing a certain action, it's it's usually how delicate they think that thing is. It's actually the weight of the action that prevents someone from doing something. So let's say, for example, I don't want to steal because, one, I know the weight on my conscience. I don't like the way it feels. I don't want that pressure on me. Two, I know I could get, punished for that. I don't want that kind of punishment. I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to pay a fee. I don't want to, you know what I mean? It also has a social impact. Like I may be labeled as a thief. I may be labeled as all kind of things, and it has too many repercussions that I do not want to face. So many people see these things like they don't, like, if they see an action as something that is insignificant, like the guy that was saying the cheating stuff, like, it's not like cheating happens like in couples all the time. They belittle the weight of whatever they did. They do not feel sorry. So let's move on to the next point, because this is getting very long. So the next part of a real apology is honesty. the kind of honesty that, it cannot not be true. You see the way that you see what the person says is not something that's simply that would be invented, or what I mean, like it came from a real sentiment or real situation. It's honesty. So I have the perfect example for that. I remember someone, he didn't even say sorry, but that honesty was enough for us to actually, um, you know, work on things. And he said, when we were little, I, yeah, when we were really, actually, I'm just gonna say it's a sibling of mine, um, and we used to have problems a lot when we were children, and there are many of these things that were never addressed, and I was always shamed for actually being the victim. So he said, you know what, like I was doing that just to get at our dad, because I knew that you were his favorite, so hurting you would hurt him. And that's all I needed. It's that kind of honesty. The person actually tells you what's going on in their mind and the reason why they did the action. Now, somebody may not feel remorse even after saying, even after being honest. But when someone is really trying to work with you on, on getting at a better place, they actually go to that deep rooted truth that could actually help you understand the situation, what they did, and that, and since they're not, and that helps because if they're no longer in that space, that means they're willing to make an effort to treat you better. And actually, it depends on the situation. Context and nuance is very important because we were children. So if someone is telling me they're trying to get at me in a way, they're trying to hurt me, etc. But the thing is, he explained very well that he was not trying, it was not against me per se, that he was trying to get something else. And when you think about it makes sense. It makes sense. You know what I mean? And yeah. So the other, I mean, this is getting long. I I I have to say this. I struggle with timing, with making videos that are short. And I think it also has to do sometimes with me going too far with examples, not structuring my thoughts as I speak or before I speak. Even if I have a map sometimes, or I have like a plan, it's still difficult for me, and I just deviate like I'm doing now, deviate from the subject or whatever. So yeah, and since I know that I don't want to force myself to speak very fast, to do all these things. So I'm trying to keep it natural and talk as I talk, but at the same time, I feel like I need to work on that. And this is something that I've been struggling with for a long time. Because I remember I was part of a debate club, and usually in debate formats, you have a set amount of time to an amount of time to talk, and it would be like 5 7 minutes, whatever. And I had a lot of problem. It was really hard for me. Anyways, let's get to the point and try to finish this video. Maybe I'm gonna cut that part. Like, anyways. So honesty is very important in an apology. And the third part is I don't know how to say that. The third part is to accept reality. So one, you're gonna see a change of mind, a change of logic. Second, you're gonna see, I mean, there will be a lot of honesty. And the third part is to accept reality. Okay. And the way I say this is accepting what happened, accepting what you're feeling, accepting the weight of their actions, accepting the context, accepting what they did as bad. It's just accepting the reality. Because oftentimes people would use certain things as they make an apology to rewrite the reality, or to undermine it, to question it, or to make you question the reality as they say sorry. But that's not, it doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work like that, because if you do not accept the reality of things, then you're not saying sorry. Because if that reality where you hurt the person does not exist, then what are you saying sorry to? What are you saying sorry about? Sorry. What are you saying sorry about? Right? So one thing I often realize is the conditional part of it. So someone would say sorry if I hurt you. And I've encountered that a lot. I remember having a conversation with a friend, and I told her everything that I was thinking, and she said, "I'm sorry if you felt this. I'm sorry if you think this, if you felt that, if I did that." I'm like, I just told you. Like, I just told you did that. I just told you I think that. And I just told you that I felt that way. So why is that if there? It's like, for example, hey, I feel let down that you did not call before the event so I could prepare this or that, for example. And then the person goes on, oh, I'm sorry if you felt let down. I'm sorry if you felt bad that I did not call. So this is I'd say an obvious way, something that gives it away. The ifs, the conditional things, the conditional parts. So I remember there was another instance where I had a situation with someone, and I told them, yo, I'm really mad that you did this. I'm really mad that you did not listen to me when I was telling you I needed this and that. So you did not listen, and now I have to suffer the consequence. But I told you repeatedly, and you still disregarded what I said. And the person said, I'm sorry, you believe I did not listen to you. So they are rewriting, they're not, they're not accepting the reality. They're not, they're making you question your reality. You believe that. But I actually did listen. Unless that's real. Like, unless this is an accurate reflection of of that, and they could show you proof that, hey, I did this. But and I think even if that was the case, the person wouldn't phrase it like that. They wouldn't say, I'm sorry you believe that. They would say, hey, I actually did. I did. Here's what I did. Like I did this and that and that and that. Maybe you didn't get to see it, or the way it was happening, you were not able to perceive it, and that was my bad because there was something, like they would explain why what they actually did, did not was not like evident to you, or what they actually did not, like, you know what I mean. So when they let's say, when they undermine the reality like that, it's because they're not sincere. Wait. Okay. So yeah, they are not sincere. I'm gonna try and finish that at 30 minutes. They're not sincere. They're not sincere. Okay? So I simply left it at that. I did not really continue to argue because that person was not going to admit that they were wrong. They were wrong. Um, and sometimes some people would give you excuses, um, and you need to pay attention to what they say, and if that is that goes, uh, if that is a good reflection of reality. Because, for example, if you tell someone, hey, stop stop knocking the glass, like stop hitting the glass, it's going to break. Stop hitting the glass, it's going to break. Stop hitting the glass, it is going to break. And they keep on hitting the glass. They keep on doing that. And when the glass breaks, someone says, "Oh, I'm sorry. It was an oversight." It was. It wasn't an oversight. "Oh, I'm sorry. I did not make that. Did that on. I did not do that on purpose." You did do that on purpose, because you were warned. You continued. Intentionally did that. There is intention that you wanted. You wanted to break the glass. Like you wanted to break the glass. So it can't be an oversight. It's not a mistake. You acted that way knowing it could break. So when people like try to dodge the responsibility, and them actively acting like they know they're acting that way, um, if they say sorry, no, it's not a real apology, because they're still trying to, they're dodging accountability. So I think that's it. I'm just gonna end it there because mine's long. Um, I'd add one more thing. I'd say that when it is for show. For example, let's say someone does something to you, and then they decide to say sorry. If it didn't happen in public and they decide to say sorry in public, sometimes, like this requires a lot of context, but I think sometimes that may say a lot about them wanting to appear as the good person rather than actually making up with you. and making amends to you. They're just trying to, you know, curate that image, create that image of themselves as the good guy. And I've had someone do that to me where they've done certain things to me in private that I could not even prove. Like these were things that only like that like I was even shamed for, and I couldn't even defend myself or anything. And they were like, when we were like, you know, with other people, they came and they were like, yeah, what's up, and trying to be funny with me, like they're trying to be the bigger person, right, in front of people. And well, that person did not exactly say sorry, but it's like they were acting as though they are making the effort to make things work. You know what I mean? But if something happens in public and the person apologize in public, then yes, that is good. That is okay. For example, I had a coworker who had said something funny, you know, to me in front of other people, and they made sure that they said sorry in front of these people. It's like, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that to you. I am like, the way I thought about the situation was this and that and that. It was wrong. And later on, they tried to say sorry again, etc., etc. Like officially, you know. So yeah, when people do, when people say sorry for show, oh, another one. Like this a DJ Khaled, another one. So when the person says sorry before they get something out of you, before another convenient situation, you know what I mean? They say sorry because they know that they need to be in good terms with you for them to get whatever they want to get, for them to talk to you about something that they need, or about a certain subject they're trying to extract some kind of information, or maybe they want you to do them a favor. This is not an apology either. So I thought this was clear. Okay, I'm gonna just recap real quick. Honesty, you need honesty. Honesty. A change of mind, a change of logic, okay? Change of mentality. Um, acceptation. What's the right noun? Let's say to accept the reality, okay? And not deflect accountability. When the person do it for show, it is not real. It's not a good. It's not a real apology. Um, yeah. Or if they want something out of you, there you have it. 30 minutes.